job of any CEO, in my opinion, is to listen carefully and build for the customer, but also listen carefully and build what the customer has not said that they need. So these two different moves that you make. One is a short-term horizon, another one is a long-term horizon. So that I think relentless customer focus starts with, you got to be in the fight every day. You got to have specific cadence with your product team where you're questioning decisions and priorities, and you're also dreaming.
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
Would you say your company has a relentless customer focus? Well, our guest today believes that this is the key to growing a 600-person company that is really creating a force inside of his own market. And really excited to bring you this conversation about being a relentless or having a relentless customer focus. Our guest today is the CEO of Clari. He is Andy Byrne. Andy and I talk about what it means to be customer focused, what it means to really be able to transfer the passion that you have for solving customer problems to the frontline employees and to the managers and throughout the organization. Why is it necessary? And what are the keys to that? He talks about hiring. He talks about the question he asks that really helps him understand, does this person care? And that will really help you, I think, hire the right people for your business. My job is to help you be an extraordinary leader, to help you create a team of people around you that are leading and developing people, that are willing to have the tough conversations, that are willing to engage and delegate and really be leaders that allow people to make decisions and grow the team around you. So if we can do anything to help you, I'd love to have that conversation. We do executive coaching, we do leadership development, turning managers into leaders across organizations. And one of the tools we use to help our clients understand where they are is a 7 dials assessment on leadership effectiveness. And we evaluate exactly where you are on those 7 dials. We're able to probe into this so that you can prioritize where to focus next and create the kind of plan that works for you. We do this absolutely free. If you're listening to this podcast, all you have to do is go to genehammett.com and schedule your call and mention that you heard it on the podcast, but this leadership effectiveness evaluation is for you if you really want to get a handle on where you are right now in terms of leadership. And is it, specifically beyond the executive leadership team and throughout the ranks of the organization. And we use this, with our paid clients, but we're going to pull it forward to give it to you, because if you really are interested in being an extraordinary leader and having leadership as a cornerstone of your competitive advantage, then this is for you. Now, here's the interview with Andy. Andy, how are you?
Doing great, Gene. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you being here, taking time. We're going to talk about a relentless customer focus, what that really means as a company is growing. Tell us about Clari.
Yeah, Clari is an AI-powered platform that helps revenue leaders drive more efficiency, growth, and predictability across their end-to-end revenue process is the headline. If I get a little bit more specific, I started the company 10 years ago. Thesis that I had that I took to Sequoia Capital, who's our largest shareholder, was that I was just shocked that there's never been a purpose-built system to run revenue, and revenue is the most important business process in any company. And we just saw a lot of pain that sales reps were experiencing, sales managers were experiencing, challenging in terms of trying to close their deals, drive more revenue, trying to predict the quarter. And we just started exploring, and we just hit this vein of gold, and we developed what's called a revenue database, and we built an application architecture on top that's allowing our customers to realize their fullest potential.
Well, there's some interesting concepts in what you're talking about there. And of course, AI is one of the biggest words of the year for this year. How are you seeing AI, impact the future of sales?
Yeah. How I think about AI is, it's just so funny to see all of the press around it. AI's now been around for, almost 3 decades. If you go back to way back when, the simple machine learning, natural language processing, we actually started doing this level of work at a previous company that I had helped build from scratch, where we were helping attorneys and we were helping investigators figure out who sent what to whom in a litigation case or a securities investigation. So take large volumes of text, analyze that, make sense of it so the humans don't have to do it. And in that case, it was predicting exposure in a case and helping people get through, hey, what is our exposure? How do we react? And eliminating a lot of human effort. So that was a company that was acquired by Symantec back in June of 2011. And we started Clari, taking a lot of those principles about, hey, how can we look at human level conversations and actions? And how can we use machine learning and artificial intelligence to, at that time, as we wanted to accurately predict the future, right? And answer the most important question in business that we felt like is, are you going to meet, beat, or miss on revenue? So could we take a lot of human data? It's found in a CRM database. It's found in email. It's found in, attachments and meetings and, call information. And we started off with helping people make accurate predictions. The company kind of took off. We're applying AI. We started doing that as we started the company back in 2013. Now, if fast forward to today, what's going on? Why is all this hype around AI? Obviously, OpenAI, ChatGPT, big deal. There's been a moment of large language models now coming to the fore and officially creating what people think is a massive platform shift in our markets, in the world. And how I frame that is that now what's happening is generative AI is able to augment human action or replace and do the action on behalf of the humans. So we were using AI to predict outcomes. Now we're using generative AI with what we call RevGPT to do the work of the humans. And I'll give you a specific example. We call it, how can we shrink the time to revenue? Use generative AI to help a rep figure out, hey, is this deal going to close? Do I put it in commit? Do I put it in upside? How do I think about the dollar amount? Generally, that takes a rep, roughly 45 minutes. Now what's happening is you're going to see RevGPT or generative AI do that on behalf of the rep, looking at all the signal and deducing or making a decision. So what took 45 minutes is going to be instantaneous. And that's one example. And we're applying this right now with RevGPT, where we're actually looking through thousands of emails, all these conversations that we record through what's called Copilot. And the machine is saying, here is what's happening in that deal, and helping the human become superhuman and be more efficient and productive. So there's two stages: outcome prediction and automated action over time. And you put those two together and you drive a level of productivity inside the enterprise, whether it's in the revenue process or any other workflow or business process. We're going to see profound productivity change that we've never seen inside business, which I think is really exciting.
I had a client that was, I don't have their permission to talk about it, so I won't mention their name, but, literally about 2 months ago, they're like, we should be using this. And one of the engineers came back and said, got an idea for you. And the last conversation we had with the sales team was, the work is getting done faster because of this AI approach with human interaction. And it's just supporting us in a different way. And it's how quickly this is evolving. And you've been doing this for years. I really appreciate you being here, taking the time, Andy. We're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to talk about a relentless customer focus. So what is a relentless customer focus to you?
I'll go street level. It's being with customers every day of the week. I just think it's so important for the executive team and especially the CEO to just be in the fight, as I call it, with the customer, living their pain, and having the signal that allows the CEO to really understand how we're going to allows the CEO to have their own vision of what they think is possible, right? So, job of any CEO, in my opinion, is to listen carefully and build for the customer, but also listen carefully and build what the customer has not said that they need. So these two different moves that you make. One is a short-term horizon, another one is a long-term horizon. So that I think relentless customer focus starts with, you got to be in the fight every day. You got to have specific cadence with your product team where you're questioning decisions and priorities, and you're also dreaming. The decisions and the priorities help Horizon 1, and the dreaming helps Horizon 2.
I want to ask you, it's probably pretty easy for a founder of a company who's passionate about what you're building and has seen it from the very beginning to have a relentless customer focus, because you know how important that is. How do you transfer that to others on the team, the new employee that starts, next week? What does that process look like for you guys?
Well, at scale, it's enabling and onboarding them immediately into recorded customer conversations and just becoming what we call being a student of the customer. So, a lot of our onboarding we do, a lot of our enablement, it's kind of centered around, we call it, everyone has their value system and their set of values, and everyone has a, we call it one with customer. But rather than it just being on a poster or a t-shirt, how we manifest one with customer, if you think about the language that we used around it, these are values that were, architected by our employees. They said, our job is to make our customers become rock stars, because when they win, we win. And I remember when we were designing this value, I didn't like the word rock star. This is way back when, right? And the employees were going, we're keeping rock star. You can't touch that, Andy. And I was saying, why do you guys like rock star? Because we want them to be the freaking heroes inside the company. And at the time, Gene, Clari was, they were risking their careers, right? Because this is early on, never heard of the company Clari. We're going to deploy this new system that's built from the ground up to run revenue, right? They're putting their careers on the line. And we felt this passion that, we owed them something because of the risks that they took. And then what our early employees saw was how these customers that took a bet on us, they literally were like, like rock stars on stage at the RKO, where the reps that are in front of 3,000 reps, they're all saying, what do you got? Let me introduce Clari. And there's a, standing ovation at an RKO, literally. This is not bullshit. This is real, happen. And so is that those kinds of moments that we create for, CROs and for RevOps professionals. So to come back to your question, how do we manifest that at scale? You take the value, you have artifacts that are recorded in the onboarding that they must listen to. You then make sure that they understand that lore and they become students of that. And then I am constantly talking about, what did I see this week? What did I see today that I thought was profound? Or what did I see today that I'm freaking pissed about, that sucked, that was slow, or I don't know why we built it this way. It's kind of odd. Why does it, because we miss things as we move fast, right? And so I think that's kind of the ongoing arc. And then the final thing I'll say is that even before all of this, it's in the hiring process. And you got to hire the people that have in their blood empathy, that you are smoking out. Is this person, do they care? Are they kind? And are they passionate about wanting to take care of others? And if you can get that first and then operationalize all the stuff I talked to you a second, you kind of have, you have a high probability of customers just loving everything that you're building and doing for them.
Now, what Andy's been talking about is the values of the company. Now, I want to just mention to you, you should not only have values, you should live the values. He talks about being one with the customer. Now, this episode is about being relentlessly customer focused, and it really is in alignment together. This is what he believes. This is how he sees the world, and he needs to hire people for that. One of the things that he does around this is really have a hiring process that allows him to do that. He understands what is necessary to identify people that have that focus on customers. And you want to make sure whatever your values are, that you are able to do the same thing. Now, here's the interview with Andy. I want to jump in here because I think a lot of people today are struggling hiring people. Even though it's a little bit more of a buyer's market, if you will, like the companies have a little bit more control than they did a year ago or 2 years ago.
Yay. I'm happy about that one.
But they're still hiring people that aren't fits value-wise. They're still hiring people that are, I don't know, maybe they check the boxes in different ways. And then they come to me and they're struggling. I'm wondering, when you've got a team of people around you that are out there sourcing talented people, and you tell me we've got to hire people that really have a high dose of empathy. So why is that important specifically to the hiring for what you're doing, and how do you do it?
I mean, I would go as far as to say it's the number one most important thing in the company. I'll just do a quick shout out to my head of people, Laura McKinnon, and the people team that she's built. It's amazing to see how we've scaled the company and not only kept the culture the way we wanted it to, but this people team has magnified the culture. And it starts with their methodology, their process, the questions that they ask. There's some quantifiable, survey-oriented things that come out of each interview that is more data-driven. And then there's just gut. And we've got a level of first-line managers that have been enabled by our people team to inspect for those things and ask the right questions and know what kind of answers we expect to build a funnel of people that are coming into the company that we feel like are a great fit, that will love us and we will love them. And it is if I was to give you specific things, and I'll just give you an example of what I do, and this manifests through everybody has their own styles and approaches. But as we've been trained by the people team and best practices on interviewing, one of the things I'll say is, Gene, what do people love about you? Why do people love you? And I always get this, well, what do you mean? And I'll say, whatever you think that means. Why do people love you? So that's one, and that's maybe a little bit more of an unorthodox question. We also like to ask not just the classic, okay, what are your weaknesses? What are you working on? What has your manager said that you need to do for coaching? But we will say things like, what are you working on about yourself as a human being a better person? Where do you think you need to do work? And, we can smoke out pretty quickly the people that either can't answer that question, that they're struggling with it, or you might find someone that is struggling and they find something that, wow, and they are vulnerable in the moment. And you go, oh, okay, this is an authentic person. But sometimes you'll see a robotic move or reaction and we'll go, okay, that's a yellow flag. Anyway, that's an example. And it really comes from the people in recruiting that they've done a great job.
Now, Andy's been rattling off a few questions that allow you to, jot them down. And it really is a great way to learn from other leaders that have learned from the hard way of what questions to ask inside the interview process. It's not always easy. My suggestion is for you and your team to have a library of these questions that you guys really love and discuss why you love them. What is it meant to do? It's not just a question. It has to mean something. And when you're hiring based on fit for the culture, having that list of questions allows people to feel supported, and they get to use the questions that they like, and they get to see where someone is. And they need to know what the answers we're looking for. Those questions should be unique. They should be really powerful. They don't have to be big, long questions. They can be really simple ones like he shared. What do people love about you? Very simple, but you want to make sure that someone is able to answer that question. Another one I wrote down here was, what are you working on? What are you working on about being a human being? So these are just questions that you want to make sure that you're writing down. If we can help you in any way, we've got a list of questions that we've compiled over the list of all of the podcasts we've done. If you want that list, just reach out to me on my email, gene@genehammett.com, and ask for the interview questions. And I'll be happy to help you absolutely free, just to give you those, the library, if you will, to starting point for your business. Now back to Andy. I want to get you two more questions before we wrap up today. One's very quick because I know you've got a lot to say about these things, but are you guys willing to repel people that aren't a good fit early in the process? Is that something that you guys believe in?
When you say repel people,
through the questions, like I've seen a lot of people that want to make everyone fit, and they want to try to sell the company to the person because it feels good to be able to do that because they're happy to work there. But we need to make sure that we're finding the right people, and we want to repel them early is one of the thoughts that.
I mean, I'd say two things. One is we are not afraid at all to say this person is not a fit culturally, even if they check all the boxes on aptitude and experience and background and, you know, the fit with the role. If they don't have a cultural fit, they will not come to the company. Some that might slip in, we fire fast for sure. And we're not, you know, we wouldn't sugarcoat that. If there's a cultural mismatch. And, you know, when we say fire fast, we don't come and say, hey, look, you're fired. We start a process of letting that person know that we're worried about certain things that are happening that suggest that there's a cultural mismatch. And we have an adult conversation about that with them. And, you know, normally what happens is we're just not a good fit and they're not a good fit. So we help them find another spot.
Last question, Andy, to wrap up today. We're talking about a relentless customer focus, and that's something that you believe is really drives the company forward. How do you lead the organization? What will we see across this organization, whether it be meeting styles or approaches or the way you guys measure this relentless customer focus?
Well, I'd like to think that I play most of the customer-facing roles. So I'm still an SDR. My first job out of school I was an SDR, and I still, you know, will cold call CEOs and CROs and CFOs, and so that I'm also a sales engineer. I'd like to think that no one knows the product better than me. And generally I come in and you know, people are going, whoa, the CEO's doing the demo end to end. The CEO's answering all the technical questions about the underlying architecture and some of the limitations. I act as the product manager. So, and then, you know, sometimes I'm acting as the support person and I get a zinger text message that comes in at 1:00 in the morning and it's from our largest customer and they're saying WTF. And I'm all over it. I respond immediately. So I don't know. I feel like I try to live the customer facing role. And I play many hats every week, every day of every week of every month of the quarter. Just it's you know, but I happen to love it. I love people, and I feel like our job is to, you know, help them do their best work.
Andy, thank you so much for being here, talking about a relentless customer focus. We appreciate your wisdom.
Thanks, Gene. Appreciate it.
What a great interview. One of the things that he wrapped up at the end there that I didn't get a chance to say was he believes in leading by example. You don't have a customer focused organization the way we're talking about this relentless customer focus without leading by example. You've got to have the passion for the client. And that's what he demonstrated at the end. Hopefully you picked up on that. I love what we're doing here. If we can help you in any way, make sure you reach out to us. We do executive coaching and we do leadership development to help turn managers into leaders. When you think of leadership and you think of growth, think of Growth Think Tank. As always, we have courage. We'll see you next time.